Good evening. You're watching the Cheese Room podcast with me, the caller, live from the man cave. And we'll be reflecting during the show on that terrible showing by Spurs. I mean England. As we go around the room, let's take it all in. HG, you've got your American flag. There's split allegiances in your house.
My wife actually watched the game with me too, which I wasn't expecting at all, and politely said at the end of it, it was the worst game of football she's ever seen. But yes, split loyalties. No, like my daughter drew a flag on my cheek before the game, an England flag on my cheek and an American flag on my wife's, and then decided that she wanted an Austrian flag on hers. So I guess that's where we were. We're all just a bit like, we care, but had America won, I wouldn't have been that upset. I have to say
that. Yeah, I would have been. DaveO, how we doing? You chipper this morning. Tell us about the kebab incident.
Yeah, I was a bit hungover. I think I was talking a bit of French last night, and went to the kebab shop up the road. It's like a bar, but they had the Wales Iran on. Got my kebab, went home, had the kebabs, lovely. Woke up about 1:30, kebab wrapping everywhere. So I can't comment much on the second half of the Welsh game. Sorry about that.
What kind of kebab was it? I'm curious to know. Being a
Welsh one.
Well, I try and avoid. I mean, I like red meat, but try not to have too much red meat. So it's like chicken kebab, lettuce, cheese, bit of hummus, tomato sauce, done.
Sounds lovely. No chili.
Cheese and hummus.
Yeah. I like a bit of hummus on the sausage as well, beef sausage. Get a bit of hummus on there; it's good.
I mean, that sounds weird if you're honest. I'm a lamb doner, chili sauce and mayo kind of guy.
Yeah, but I'm
alarm for the start of the show. Yeah, we started, Dave.
Yeah, sorry, that was my son ringing me. Carry on.
Oh, that's my alarm clock in the morning. It confuses the hell out of me when I hear that.
Yeah.
And Jack, you must be quite chipper. How are you?
I am quite chipper, actually. I have to admit, I intellectually was expecting to lose and hopeful that we could eke out a win. I mean, 0-0, a draw doesn't really help us that much. Still in the same situation as we were, which is have to beat Iran. But I'll be honest with you, from our perspective, we feel pretty good about that performance. It might have been an ugly second half, but we feel pretty good, I think.
Okay, let's get into it. There's no run sheet scripted tonight, no Dave jokes. Everyone will be very happy. So if you're watching the broadcast and you like no Dave jokes, smash the like button. And if you do like the Dave jokes, smash the like button and we'll get him to do one for you. Let us know what you're thinking during the show. The chat box is there, so use it. And we will get to your comments as we go round. HG, a pretty lively start. I thought quite a lot of energy from both teams, and England looked like they were all over them in the first 5 minutes, didn't they?
Yeah, that was the only 5 minutes. All over them. I felt like it was just, but both sides. They were quite happy for England to have the ball. We played it around the back nicely. We couldn't really go much further forward than that. We had a couple of decent moves that led to Kane's half chance, but after that, I mean, let's face it, it wasn't a good game. So England started off okay, but we weren't anywhere dynamic as we were against the Iranians.
No, I thought with the Iranian game, that early goal gave us the impetus and really sort of spurred us on, if you like. The lack of an early goal.
But the Iranian game, the goal wasn't that early. It was like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. It's just, I don't know. Like we obviously we had a couple of decent half chances against Iran early on, and their keeper got injured, but it was just very, very different. I felt like watching England today. There was no energy off the ball. Everyone was it was like watching Spurs on a bad day, where the player with the ball is there, but he's got there's no movement, there's no running. It was just very, very slow.
Dave, is that how you felt? You're shaking your head. It's either your phone that you're shaking your head at, or HG's comments. I'm hoping it's HG's comments.
No, I would never disagree with the broadcaster of the year. Come on, don't be silly. And he's the most tactically aware, astute person that we've got on the cheese room. So why would I do that? There are other points of differences, but there are lots of points of similarities. Look, the game. I mean, it was just no movement off the ball, lack of invention, and he takes forever to change anything every time. His game management is appalling. And the reality is, I think he's done a great job in reuniting the. Here we go. We're going to balance things up now.
Got another Yank here. There you go.
Yeah, here he is.
Oh no.
Here he is. How are you?
I'll probably just convey, I'm not the biggest U.S. men's national team fan. I don't pay attention as much as others, but I was very looking forward to being either the recipient of the banter today or being the giver of the banter today. And it feels like neither of us are given the satisfaction. So a bit anticlimactic, I must say, at the end of it. I'm feeling pretty okay, though. Like, if I were really, really behind this team, I might be a bit disappointed that we didn't get 3 points in either game, because when you really look at it, you have to get 3 points in one of the first two fixtures. I think we played well in both games, but that's kind of how it works, is you can't just feel like you played well in both games. You kind of have to have the points to show for it. And honestly, the U.S. don't really have the points to show for it, where England do. Like, England didn't even play well, but they got the point that they needed to probably feel more comfortable than the USA maybe do at this moment in time. But I'm actually proud of the fact that I think we played well maybe in both fixtures for the most part.
But from the sounds of it, it sounds like you've got a bit of post-coital disappointment going on here.
Yeah, definitely. The patriotism is starting to wane a little bit. It was going very strong throughout. Now it's starting to die down.
And happy Thanksgiving, by the way.
Thank you very much, DaveO. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And your missus, HT.
Yeah, sadly celebrated separately the Thanksgivings this time. But yeah, thank you very much.
It's all right. I'm just doing my bit for US and English relations. That's just what I'm here for.
Very good. Good mediator.
Always a diplomat.
That's me.
I did wonder what you're here for. You will not turn this show into anti-Edic rant, DaveO. Let's not go there today.
I don't need to. I'm loving the World Cup. I'll tell you why I'm loving the World Cup, because apart from England and a little bit of Socceroos, don't have an emotional involvement in this. Just enjoying watching football as where I can and not falling asleep on the couch. Just enjoying football. We all love World Cups. Don't do anything for a month and watch football. It's great. Love it.
Yeah, it's just the busiest time of the year for me, which is
it's a shocker for you, I know.
Awful, but there you go. Jack H, were you optimistic after that opening sort of barrage from England? If you could,
I actually texted our Slack group and Brendan, some folks on WhatsApp, says I'll take at halftime. I was like, I'll take the win. I mean, that as far as I'm concerned, England was obviously they were very fortunate not to be down at least one at halftime. 2 great chances. Weston blew his. Christian with an unbelievable rocket off the crossbar. And they totally owned. What surprised me the most is that we controlled the midfield. I mean, England was bad, I guess there's no doubt, but absolutely were all over them in controlling the midfield and could move the ball fairly comfortably and get opportunity down both sides to create dangerous situations all half. So I was really quite pumped up at halftime, and even no matter what happened after that, I was thrilled, because what my fear was is, inside of 15 you're down 2-0, and now it's just a brutal watch for the rest of the match. So I was talking to my son, we were really impressed with the first half.
Yeah. HG, as the resident analyst, tell me, how does the midfield with Declan Rice, who is arguably one of the best holding midfielders in the Premier League, and Jude Bellingham, who obviously is pretty similar in some respects, except he does a little bit more box to box. How does that get overrun by the Americans, who clearly are not as capable?
Because there were 3 of them for a start. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like McKennie and Adams and Musa, they're all young, they're all mobile. And they're comfortable, and they worked their triangles. They got Pulisic involved. Like, Weir on the other side wasn't involved as much, and the striker didn't have much of a kick. But the 4 of them were good enough to get away from England's 3. I mean, you can count Mason Mount in there as well. I don't think Mason Mount did anything in today's game. In fact, there were a number of England players that barely touched the ball. It felt like, let alone got involved. Either we weren't able to, or they just weren't good enough. Sterling's another. Could have got more involved, never really did. So I think that the biggest thing is that threesome that the Americans have, it's a good 3, and they complement each other well. Like, Tyler Adams might be the kind of the defensive destroyer, the more defensive of the 3, but McKennie's no slouch. He can go forward and, as we saw, have a few chances. And Musa is probably maybe my favourite of the 3, because he's got ability. I don't want to say he's just a runner, but the passing is there too. So he may not have the goal threat that McKennie has, but he's probably the one that kind of keeps it all ticking over. I just think it's a pretty good midfield three.
I'm interested in McKennie. Obviously, Spurs have been hotly linked with him. And I think those rumours are going back around the rumour mill that January we might move for him again. I think he's a Paratici/Conte kind of player. What did you make of his performance, Jack? Flat cap Jack.
McKennie, I kind of agreed with the other Jack that I was a little disappointed in the fact that he wasted, I thought, the best chances of the game. And that was maybe where, if he were having, let's say, a Spurs debut, like, or a Spurs trial of any sort for us in any way, that sort of goal scoring midfielder that I think McKennie is known for. He is known for being a guy that can pop up in the box and get a goal. He kind of missed, I thought, some of the best chances of the game that he was afforded. And I'm a bit disappointed with that, because I feel like, I don't know if maybe Jack agrees with me here, but if anybody probably wanted a guy in the box to show up late to finish it, McKennie would be the one that we'd be kind of backing to bury it. And he didn't do it. And it's a bit disappointing. Perhaps in another fixture he does it, but he's not going to get that other fixture. So he kind of needs to have buried those, if you ask me, especially the one where it was that cross in. I forget from which player, might have been from Serginho Dest. And at first I thought it was maybe a difficult chance, but then when you saw that he really was expecting that ball to be coming in, and he really was lining himself up for that kind of side foot volley kind of into the back of the net, he just skied it as like a souvenir. He kind of had two opportunities where he pretty much just turned it into a souvenir and almost knocked Emerson's ball out of orbit from that Bournemouth match back onto earth. So Weston McKennie, I think, is brilliant. I think you saw like what he brings: dynamism, pace, athleticism, the ability to get up and down. Is obviously creates chances and can find himself with good chances. I don't know, Caller, maybe it's a bit, recency bias or something. I'm just a bit frustrated with him because I thought he kind of missed some good chances today and probably had the best chances of any of our
players. I didn't think he played particularly well, if I'm being brutally honest. I didn't really see much in him.
Yunus Musa, good example from, HG, that I thought Yunus Musa was actually probably better.
Yeah, I thought he was too. Jack H. Weston McKennie, would you be happy to see him as a Spurs signing? And I'm going to ask Dave and HG exactly the same question in a minute, because I'm interested on this one.
Certainly seen in his career the ability to be the type player that we're missing. Someone like a true box who has those late runs coming in, very good in the air. I mean, I don't know if there's many players in Serie A that have more headed goals last couple of years than him. And so I think that he brings something that we don't necessarily have, but at the same time, it's not an overwhelming position of need in the squad, because he's not a creative. He's not going to unlock defenses with trickery. He's not Bellingham. So from that standpoint, I don't know if he's a player of need, but yeah, no, I think he's an excellent player. He's not been fully fit for a good 8, 9, 10 months.
That's true.
So I don't think he's at the top of his game. And I thought he gave everything he had on, and I thought he was good, at least tactically and defensively. Offensively, a little bit to be desired, but he had cut some good combinations. But as far as coming to Spurs, I'd be happy to have any American on the Spurs who can help the club. There's no doubt about that.
Get Dempsey back. HG, McKennie, I'm not seeing it. Are you?
No, based on today, no. And based on the Iran game, the Wales game, if you're looking at those midfielders that have played for America in the last couple of, one I would pick is Aronson, who's a sub, because we saw what he can do when he played for Leeds against us a few weeks ago.
True.
And he's the one that's replacing McKennie. So clearly the Americans trust him to be kind of a box-to-boxer. It was a like-for-like switch, even if their characteristics are different. So Aronson would be the one, and then probably Musa. Like, McKennie's obviously got the talent. You don't get to Juventus if you're bad. But I haven't seen it in game so far, and if it's down to injuries, then so be it. But I haven't seen McKennie enough, and the games I have seen, it's a bit too much like Højbjerg, really.
DaveO.
So he's Højbjerg without the arm waving. So that's what he really is.
He's got a better haircut than Højbjerg, hasn't he?
Yeah,
that's better.
Go on, Dave. You're about to say something, HG.
I just like, it's not to say that Højbjerg, they're very similar players. Like, Højbjerg is better when he's got a defensive midfielder behind him and can get forward and can get involved in things. And McKennie's the same. I think they're just similar players. Maybe McKennie will score more goals, but again, it's not that creator that most Spurs fans would like.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he would look. I don't think he would add anything to us that we don't have already. And the reality is the link is made because he plays for Juve. So I think the key here is who is Juve buying in January window, and how do they need to finance that purchase, and that's who we'll get in January.
Also, it's Bentancur's and Højbjerg's best goal scoring and kind of assisting, seasons, like, for them respectively. They're having their best ever seasons when it comes to the goal and assist department. So Weston McKennie, maybe you would have brought in had maybe they'd not been, putting in the goals and the assists in that sort of way. But since they kind of are stepping up in that sort of manner, yeah, you probably have less of a reason then to even get McKennie. I agree, actually. I think you would go after the Medford, New Jersey Messi, Mr. Brendan Aronson.
I thought Pulisic had a very good game, actually. He rattled the bar, didn't he? Which was it was something out of nothing, really. That that wasn't a good chance. It was a sort of a shot out of nothing. But he looked impressive to me. But no one really in the States team really stood out apart from him. I thought for us, we were just shocking. Really, midfielders didn't ever get at it. What would you have changed at half time, DaveO, if it were you as the waistcoat wearing wonder that is Gareth Southgate?
I'm just a bit surprised that we're not using Foden at all. Okay, I mean, from a tactical point of view, obviously HG's the expert, not me. I mean, I'd have bunged on Foden. I think Mount is just like a clean cut, nice boy that Southgate likes, right?
Yeah, Mount's not a bad player, but he's not.
No, but he's not
a great player, is he? He doesn't really bring much in terms of creation or anything like that. Foden would be. I agree with you. I think Foden would bring loads more to the team.
Yeah, I just think we're really not utilising Foden. He's a regular under Pep. He's a great player, and he needs to be in the team. But it's always been an age-old problem for England is working out the best players, best positions, or best structure for your playmakers and your good players. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's like I'd have had Foden, and then Rashford brings some pace to it, and he's come into a little bit of form before the World Cup. He's been off it for about a year or so, and those are the kind of things that I'd be looking at. And Sterling, he's not been in great form, and he just picks his favourites, doesn't he?
It's weird. It's kind of like a teacher at school, isn't it? That's HG.
Because
Jack,
as a favourite, I would pick Sterling every time.
Absolutely not. Jack, from an American perspective, did you think the changes that we made were going to influence the game, particularly? Rashford coming on and. We just swapped light for light with a holding midfielder for a holding midfield, didn't we? Really, with Bellingham coming off.
Yeah, I was surprised a little bit. I didn't see why Bellingham would come off. That didn't make any sense to me, and I was thrilled that he did. And the changes. My son and I were saying that we should be able to match up fairly well. If we play well, we can match up with England until it gets to the bench. And when it gets to the bench, that's when the advantage to England is all over because we just have less to bring off. I mean, Arison's a good player. Gio Reyna is just coming back to fitness, and he's probably our most talented, but he's now seen 8 minutes. But I'm looking at Foden. I'm looking at Rashford. I'm looking at the people you're bringing off and I'm bringing on. And it should have been something that you could have done something with. I don't understand why Foden doesn't play. His movement is the best of almost anyone I watch. And his ability to take people on one-on-one is fantastic. He's got great shots. I mean, if that chance that fell to Rashford had fallen to Foden, Rashford just kind of chipped it to Matt Turner. But that falls to Foden. I see that in the upper 90. I don't understand why he's not playing. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I'm glad he didn't. Don't get me wrong, but I don't understand why he's not playing.
Clearly saving him for later in the tournament. But flat cap Jack, I mean, what is it with Foden? Has Southgate got a blind spot, as DaveO said, picks his favourites? Or do you think it's more a case of he didn't want to lose the game, so he just went with the safest bet, really?
I think you'll probably drive yourselves mad if you try to, figure out what's going on inside Southgate's head on certain decisions. So might as well just leave it as maybe a lack of knowledge or a lack of tactical nous, I think, in his case. I actually did a watch along, as you guys know, on the Irish. I laughed on stream when you guys took Bellingham off. I thought that was absolutely shocking, considering because it was Jordan Henderson. If it maybe was like I don't know, this would be weird, but if he had maybe put on Foden for Bellingham, I could have been like, okay, maybe something strange, something a bit outside the box here. But putting on the sideways passer of Hendo for Bellingham, I was just like, is he going for the draw? Like,
You
I
might
just
bring
couldn't.
Harry Winks into the fray.
It really did feel like bringing on Harry Winks for Bellingham. I also thought Bellingham by no means was the problem for you guys. I don't think he was hurting you in any way. I actually thought you just keep the same midfield and bring on maybe Foden for Mason Mount. That probably would have made more sense. I think Mason Mount runs a lot harder than maybe the average creative midfielder. He also has a good finish, as we all know, Mason Mount, but he can't pick out the passes or really carry the ball in the same way that I think other midfielders that you guys have. So I probably would have taken off Mason Mount, put on maybe Phil Foden. Like I said, I sort of laughed at you guys when you took off Bellingham. I really thought that was an atrocious decision. But let's be honest. I mean, just to the side of him was another kind of bit of a bonehead of a manager. In the case of Berhalter, I thought he also made some kind of shocking substitutions. Serginho Dest, I don't rate as a defender, but I thought he was really good going forward that game. I thought he was really good. So it made no sense to take him off when he was playing really well. Also, I looked it up. That guy who they put on was a Nashville right back. No disrespect to Tennessee or Nashville, but I didn't think that was his moment to really,
that one was a shocker just because I understand that you didn't like the matchup Dest on Grealish. That was not a favorable matchup, in my opinion. But you bring on Yedlin. You bring in a stronger, more experienced, and Shaq Moore found himself in a couple of situations down deep with the ability to cross it in, probably 3 or 4, simply wouldn't do it. And the one time he did, he passed it to a defender, and another time he passes upfield. Between him and Zimmerman on that right side, that is the equivalent of Emerson and
Emerson's twin.
Emerson and Sanchez. When you got Zimmerman, I mean, that I'm telling you, that you guys did not exploit the weakest element. Shaq Moore was a surprise inclusion on the team. I mean, that was a total mystery. It should have been, if you're going to take him off, it should have been Yedlin.
That was a bit of a similar one, though, where I think actually, to me, Jack, both managers made shocking substitutions, if you ask me. And Brendan Aronson, like I said, the New Jersey Medford Messi, I kind of wish he'd probably been on a bit sooner. But
and same with Rainier.
Same with Rainer too, but I don't know. Like, it made sense with the original lineup they went for. They went for maybe a more traditional striker with Haji Wright. And Weah looked okay for the most part. I just feel like he could have made substitutions a bit sooner, our own manager. And let's be honest, like I said on the watch along, I was laughing at Southgate's decision. So I think a few howlers from both managers when it comes to the tactician.
So in terms of the feeling about the... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, Dave, go, please.
So in terms of your feeling about the coach, guys, is he the one who's going to be there in 4 years' time when you host it? What's the feeling?
I hope not.
I wouldn't think so. I hope not. I mean, there was some of us who were thinking, well, what's the worst that could happen? We get knocked out of the group stage and Greg gets fired. That's up. I mean, I'm okay. That's fine because I mean, there's a lot of us who would love to see, a different manager in there, and a lot of people, of course, are on the Jesse Marsch train, but he's not going to be coming out of club football. He's too young. So
Ted Lasso's available.
Say again.
Ted Lasso's available.
Well, what America should do is steal the Canadian manager.
I know.
Right, who's proven to get them playing good, attacking, high-pressing football. And is it Carlo Ancelotti wants to lead Canada to that World Cup because his wife's Canadian? Like, you just do a swap, right? Herdman goes to America. Ancelotti can retire with his wife to Canada. Everyone's a winner, right? But I genuinely think that would be a good appointment for America because he watches American football all the time because that's where most of the Canadians are playing, or a lot of them are. So it would be a decent. I think that would be a decent move.
I agree with that.
I'm writing that down. I'm gonna make a phone call after this.
No, he's not good enough, Berhalter. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't even watch the U.S. team very actively or patriotically, really at all. And I still find him to be a bit of a numpsicle and a bit of a bonehead.
Numpsicle, what a great word.
That is a good
DaveO, speaking of numpsicles.
Yes, caller.
Why do you think Southgate leaves his substitutions so Conte-esque until the game's pretty much done?
It's more Pochettino-esque than Conte-esque, but it's in the same bucket. Well, because he's just not very good at managing big games. He's not good at match situations. He really is not. As I've said about him before, take my hat off to him because what he's done in terms of the culture of the team and building a relationship between the team and on the whole the public, because it was broken after Capello, Hodgson, Big Sam. It was just an absolute joke, and I've got respect for him for that. But at the same time, the Euros was, we played most of our games at home.
I think he's got the best record, apart from Alf Ramsey, of any England manager.
Yeah, well, he has. I mean, he's taken us to a final of the Euros and a semi-final of the World Cup. So he has got the best record. But it's that big game management. He just doesn't do it. I mean, the Bellingham thing, as soon as he took him off and brought on bloody Henderson, the game really was up. That was it then. So, he's not very good at it. He's just not very good at it. And on the one hand, I think he's done a great job bringing it to where it is and the record thus far. This is obviously going to be, it's got to be his last tournament. And it could well be Poch could be next. Well, but then, where do you go after Southgate? I mean, there's Poch, Nuno.
Cockfosters.
Not High Barnet or New Barnet. We'll see. Sorry to our American friends.
I think this is absolutely spot on, really. And give us. He's just risk adverse, isn't he? We're never going to win anything, Dave. Enoch out, because he is so risk adverse. It's like
Enoch Holiday, please. Enoch Holiday, thank you. I'm not interested.
Should he be? He's got to a final and a semi. Almost, very nearly won a tournament. So my question is to our American friends, Jack H. Do you think he's wise in that strategy? Because it's almost paid off for England, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarity in what our Greg has took over a broken program and has done a good job in pulling together a player pool and rebuilding a squad and create some sort of level of identity, getting guys to play for him. But it's very similar. But for Southgate, we're never going to be in the semifinals of a major tournament. So, I mean, with Southgate, I've watched it enough to say he doesn't trust it. It's like he doesn't trust his players. He doesn't trust that, if I put the best players in the world on the pitch and just let them go, let them do what they naturally are gifted to do, I'll get a good result. It's almost like he's scared to let that happen because to your point, the substitutions don't make sense. What happened in that Euro final doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't understand it because when you look at Brazil and that substitutions, they can bring off player after player after player, lose no quality, and you can do the same thing from an attacking sense. Your weakness is the back, and you don't make that better by being conservative and not having attacking flair on there. You lead with defense. You take your offense to the other team. And that's your best defense, and I don't understand why he doesn't do that. It doesn't make sense at all.
When you've got Slabhead at the back, and you've got nothing to worry about.
He played well today. He
did. Played well against. He played all right against Iran as well. To be fair to the guy. But not really tested that much, you wouldn't say.
I think the thing with Southgate is that he took over in 2016, right? We qualified for the World Cup. That's always a given. But he took a team of not a great squad, and he took them to the semi-finals, and we were beaten by a better team. Like Croatia deserved to beat us. As King Hoddle said, we had a pretty easy draw to get to the semis, but still we made the most of what we had. We were winning with set pieces. I mean, we weren't pretty to watch then. And penalty shootouts, even. I mean, that in itself, the guy needs to be knighted just for that. However, since then, we've had a whole bunch of players come through who are better than that, right? And so even though we got to the final of the Euros, again, we had a pretty easy draw then. We had the Germans at home, one of the worst German squads ever. We had them at Wembley in front of 90,000.
Yeah.
Great.
Ideal scenario.
And then we had, Ukraine in the quarters and Denmark at home in the semis.
Yeah.
Like, you take that every single time. There's no France, there's no Spain, there's no Italy until the final. So you just think, is he getting the best of what he's got now? In
also, your Russia route wasn't too difficult either. Your route in Russia wasn't too hard either.
No,
and that final. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I just think that
It's too polite, you two. You
management
go.
is
No,
all about.
no, I insist. You first. No, no, after you. What's going on?
Yeah, we're British caller. You should try it. Look, the idea is like, is he getting the best out of his squad? And we could have said that a while ago. We can't say it. We couldn't say it last year in the Euros, and we definitely can't say it now. And so for that reason, you'd want him to go. It's like any manager. I don't care who you are. If you're not getting the best out of the squad you have or you're picking, then isn't that your job?
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, that Euros final, when what's his face, Chiellini was on a yellow. He just did not exploit that situation whatsoever. It was just crying out. That second half was just crying out to make changes, and he didn't do it. And as King Hoddle was saying, that you look at that squad 4 years ago, you had Jesse Lingard, Dele Alli, and look at that
Loftus
squad.
Cheek,
Bloody
Jones
hell,
was in it.
Danny Rose,
freaking cheek.
Ashley Young was there as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It's a miles better squad.
And Harry Kane was taking corners, which is
no, that was under Hodgson. That was under Southgate.
That's right. My bad.
That was the first big change, But it's it's a much better squad than 4 years ago, and we were all delighted when we got to the semis then because we've been so crap in tournaments for so long. But the fact remains is it's just of the players that we've got, and we just need a system that makes sure that we make the best of the players that we have. And he's not doing it. He really isn't. I mean, you look at that bench and the players we got to come off the bench. We got a really good bench to make the changes. So use it.
There's something to be said, though. To be a devil's advocate, there is something to be said. Also, because I would love for you guys to keep Southgate, so I might as well come up with a reason maybe to keep him over there. I feel like you have seen that maybe more progressive managers haven't exactly gone as far in these recent tournaments as maybe you think. Even Hansi Flick, as HG would know, who's a very progressive type style of football, he's been exposed in the past with his style of play. I even think a guy like Luis Enrique, who's a fabulous manager, still got exposed in some sort of sense in the likes of the Euros. Even though people thought he did brilliant in the Euros, I still think he did have a pretty good team with him, and he did find a way to slip up there. So some of the more pedigreed managers of also kind of nice attacking football haven't exactly won anything. Even a complete, I think, useless of a manager, Didier Deschamps, has actually a World Cup to his name, which sort of just shows you don't need to have a good manager at all in order to win a tournament if you have a good team. And England probably find themselves with a France-like situation where you have some of the best players in the world to pick from. You have some of the best squad depth of players to pick from, kind of like a France do. Do you really need a world-class manager to win it, considering Deschamps was able to do it? And again, maybe another use of Numsicle. I think he's one as well. So I don't know. I think just to play devil's advocate and maybe just to convince you guys to keep Southgate a bit longer, which will all be happy for us Americans, maybe you could look at the fact that not every progressive manager has exactly won a major tournament.
It doesn't affect you Americans, really, does it?
The
You're never
effects.
going to be on a level playing field, are you, in reality? So, why would it bother you?
Maybe so, but we do love watching you
Well,
crumble.
we
I
love
think, just
listening
like
to you.
the Irish
We love
and
listening
plenty
to you whine
others.
about it, though. That's the beauty.
Fair enough. I mean, talent on the bench. Are we missing a Maddison, a bit like Spurs? Do you think Maddison maybe might feature in our final group game against Wales, HG, and where would he play? I mean, this is the thing. We can't get Foden in the team, so Maddison's got no chance, right?
This is it. We talked about Foden and Grealish. Maddison is an afterthought. I mean, he is player 26.
Yeah.
There's very little chance of him.
But we miss it. Someone of that quality, creative.
No. I would agree that he needs to come on. He needs to play minutes. I mean, you're right. Like, what do we want from our team? Do we want a bunch of kind of creative attacking midfielders? You could play all three of them, frankly. You could play Foden on the right, you could play Grealish on the left, and you could play Maddison as the 10. You could play all three of them. And that might mean that it's Rice and Bellingham as the two that sit. But that's, in my head, that's a pretty good front five, midfield and attack. I think the issue is what does Southgate want to do? Like the side we played tonight and against Iran worked really well against Iran because we got the fullbacks bombing forward. And tonight we weren't able to do it because the American attack, they kept their wide attackers up the pitch. We couldn't get Trippier down the field to make those crosses. We couldn't get Shaw. Shaw assisted the first goal against Iran. That's a big issue. So if you can't get those players, then you need to have, in theory, Saka and Sterling providing that width. Saka tried and did it, certainly better than Sterling. Sterling was nowhere the entire game. He wasn't supporting Kane. He wasn't out wide. Where was he? So like you decide what you want to do. To me, you pick either Saka or Sterling, and if you're going to do that, it's Saka, right? But you've got to have Foden on the game. You have a midfield three and stick Foden on the left, Bellingham on the right, and say to Rice, you're going to hold, and then you can. It doesn't matter if you're going to have a back four that defend only.
Sure.
It's about getting that back, and I don't think that, you know, as much as Sterling has been much better under Southgate than he has under anyone else, like he improved massively, he is not part of our best team in any way, shape or form, and he starts almost every game for Southgate. And to me, that's a massive problem.
I'd agree with that. I mean, he's got a blind spot though, because he's playing people like Bellingham, and he gave Saka his opportunity, didn't he? So I don't know what it is that Sterling does that he loves so much.
But to be fair to Sterling, like Sterling is very good at one thing, which is movement in the box, right? So if you need a goal late on, I could see throwing him on because he might be there at the right place, right time. But if you need to control the game, that doesn't help. Having Sterling doesn't help. I don't think defenses are scared of his pace because they defend quite deep anyway. So a ball over the top's not going to hurt. You'd rather have Rashford in that situation if you wanted someone with pace over the top. So I don't want to bash Sterling, but he is what I've always thought he is, which is just not good enough. He's a great part of a team. If you've got 10 world-class players, Sterling can be the 11th and score you a load of goals. He's done that at Man City. But if you need him to be part of a team that isn't the best, then I just don't think he's good enough.
And Mr. Kane, very quiet again. Do you think he's nursing? I mean, we've got to be happy he's come through unscathed with that foot or ankle scare or whatever it was. But did USA keep him particularly quiet, or was he just playing in an ineffective system, Jack H?
Well, I noticed, he didn't get a lot of touches, right? You can see that from the graph, from the stats. He didn't get a lot of touches, but when he did get, Ream was, they collapsed on him very quickly. They knew not to give him space. He kept coming deeper and deeper to get the ball because he wasn't getting any room around the box. So I think that it's more, not using him right, not being involved. And maybe, I'll be honest with you, his movement didn't look great. So I don't know the condition of his ankle, but from what I said, I think we had a pretty good tactic against him. Didn't get a lot of looks, but that may just be more England than it was the U.S., quite frankly.
If I were to pick a moment that sort of maybe described the game that Harry Kane was forced to play, I actually think maybe like similar to Spurs, didn't exactly have the best of service and also didn't really have a lot of runners that were really there for him. Because there's one stage where, and I don't like to pick a moment that describes the game, but I did think it kind of did when he got, he read, who was it? It was like Pulisic or someone where he got, stuck in on him twice, read him twice. And on that second time, he then took it past like two American players. And you were like, wow, like Kane's on a bit of a run here. And he then had to play it backwards after that, after going on like a skips past two or three players. You would think there would be some guy making some run in behind, and he always loves to force it. Even if it's not there, Harry Kane will force it, and he will try to make it, he will try to play that pass. He's not risk averse, I think Harry is. And the fact that he then just looked up and then just looked this, did this, and then just ended up playing it backwards, sort of maybe describe the game, and also maybe describe that Southgate probably got it wrong with the likes of Sterling, etc. Because it is quite shocking that Harry Kane has no runners in a situation like that, considering you do have Rashford, Sterling, all these players that would be there for that type of run. So that is maybe, just shows in a nutshell, maybe the problems that you guys have is that Harry Kane skips past two or three players and there's no one to play to. There's no one to pass to. That's a problem, if you ask me.
Well, there was another nutshell moment when I think it was in the second half that he was involved in the build-up on the right-hand side of the box, and I think he did the linkage, and I think someone put in the cross in the middle, and there was no one there, right? There was no one there, and he would be there to be the poacher in the box to put that in, and that sums it up as well, right? Because again, as we see often, he's dropping deep, and he did that well in the Iran game. He dropped deep and he was linking it well, and it worked well. But this time around, as you said, the point about those with pace getting advanced in front of him to link it in, there was none of that tonight. And as you said, I think that sums it all up.
Had you played maybe a Phil Foden or brought on a Phil Foden for a Mason Mount, I was also thinking Harry Kane wouldn't have to probably drop deep very much, because he has someone like a Phil Foden that can then drop deep and pick up the ball for him, and he can then stay in the box and be where he wants to be. It also could have been, I don't know, he could have probably considered putting on a Callum Wilson maybe for someone like a Sterling or something, maybe switch the shape up, go with 2 up top, you never know. But it just felt like Harry Kane didn't exactly have a great game, but there were some moments where I kind of was like, there's no one really there for him to pass to either. So it is kind of screams of some problems maybe with Southgate getting the personnel wrong, because I don't know, there were some moments where Harry Kane looked like he was confused even what to be doing, whether to be dropping deep, whether to be in the box, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he'll get crap from the papers and from the pundits for dropping deep too much, and the thing that Dave talked about him not being in the box when he needed to be there, but the ball wouldn't have been in the box if it wasn't him getting it there in the first place.
King Hoddle said you guys were cross averse today. He said you guys were like, you didn't want to cross the ball. He felt like today you could have done it a whole lot more maybe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like watching it, I didn't notice that. I didn't feel like we were even close enough to make those crosses. And again, if it's, I mean, it sounds awful, but if it is just Kane, like I don't rate Tim Ream at all, but he looks quite good at international level against Zimmerman, who is, we saw in the first game. America could easily be in our position. They should be in our position if it wasn't for Zimmerman. We'd both be on 4 points and looking great. So it's just, and Wales would be out. Sorry, still Welsh. But when you've got a striker like Kane, yes, he can do those things, but what he's really, really good at is scoring. Like, you need to have a team that can give him the chances to score. He had one half chance that was blocked. That was about it tonight. And I don't remember having too many chances in the first game either. So yeah, we scored 6, kind of, let's say, without him. But Kane is a striker. He's going to score you goals. You need to get people who can create chances for him onto the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely right. I just sort of feel like Kane. Is it really all on Kane? I really doubt it, but that's sort of how I think England is often criticized, as if a certain Harry Kane isn't spraying passes left and right and bringing people into play, then he'll probably be criticized for it, and maybe rightfully so. And the fact that he didn't exactly make a good case for himself in this game. But like I said before, I think there were some moments, like we said, those nutshell moments that sort of described a lot of the other problems, maybe systemic problems of that England squad. And what's funny too is, I don't know if you guys have brought this up before, but I did find it funny that he didn't switch to the back 5 this game. Southgate, I actually thought he would cower away and maybe go with the back 5 and be a bit more negative. And so I was surprised to see him stick with that 4-3-3 or that 4-2-3-1 really. And it didn't really end up working for him. Perhaps it was more to do with the personnel than really the shape, because I think he went with the right shape and he went with the right, maybe more progressive shape or formation, but perhaps some of the personnel, like you guys have been saying, he's been getting wrong.
I mean, Mark Bosnich is doing the punditry here, and he did say something rare, a rare, decent insight, and it's very rare for him, when he said that it may well be the case you got someone like Walker, who hasn't played since October, and it may be more of a horse. He's gone with a 4 at the back because he doesn't feel he has the deep personnel to play 3 at the back with 3 that he fully trusts. And
Can I quickly ask why you guys didn't bring up another left back than Luke Shaw? Because I am curious about that. Because a lot of people had said, "Oh, he's gotten the squad perfect, everything." The moment like King Hoddle brought this up too, I'd seen before that. I was like, it's a bit curious that you guys don't have any other left back than Luke Shaw at the moment. Maybe you're going to play Bukayo Saka in like a back 3 left wing back situation, but I did find that also a bit strange that Luke Shaw is sort of the guy that you'll live and die by maybe this tournament.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is down to the fact that Chilwell got injured just before the tournament started.
That's right. I
and
forgot
then
about
after that, you were like, who's next? Like,
that is a
who
good
is
point.
Next in line? And people talked about Cresswell at West Ham, and people talked about Rico Henry at Brentford, who's not played for England, and you got the Crystal Palace defender who's more of a fullback than a wing back.
That's a good point.
It felt as if, like, to me at least, when you picked Maddison, which was a bit of a shocker, no one really expected he was going to.
Yeah.
But it was almost like to get, rather than talk about the players that he didn't pick, by picking Maddison, it made everything about, wow, he's picked this guy who's been one of the best players in the Premier League. And that the narrative was all about being positive rather than worrying, hey, like, if Luke Shaw gets injured, what are we going to do? Well, Trippier's going to move to left back. That's probably what's going to happen. And you just hope it doesn't get that far. But
no, Sessegnon mentioned there, HG.
Well, yeah, because I don't think anyone with a brain
what?
Sessegnon was an option.
Please, as I said, we're having a holiday. Okay, we're having a holiday. Do we have to? Look, we've got a bit of a tradition of only taking one left back to a World Cup. I remember, and I know I'm old.
That was a good
98.
explanation, though. I think that makes sense, considering like perhaps wouldn't have actually offered you that much having a different left back than Luke Shaw.
No.
But it does speak to it that you will probably live and die by Luke Shaw at this tournament, and that is something to be said.
Yeah, but he'll flip over Trippier, won't he? If he has to.
That's true.
And then he's got Walker. But you know, we've often gone into tournaments with only one left back, right? 98, we only took the So. That was it. So you know, we've done it before.
Look how that went.
Well, yeah.
Because of the So, though.
Well, he wasn't. He didn't play very well, but yeah, there's other reasons. Beckham, he's having a lovely time in Qatar at the moment, which is nice.
See, I haven't seen him on any of the coverage. So, have you seen something?
It's all over American coverage.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
Is he? Oh, he's not on the British coverage much, to be fair.
The Qataris would be very upset. He's not doing his ambassador job then, if you haven't seen him very much, caller.
And Messi's doing a great job as the ambassador for Saudi Arabia as well.
Certainly is.
Fantastic. I mean, you know, that's bloody. He's doing a better job for them as ambassador than I think Beckham is for Qatar.
Yeah. He got some consolidation knowing that he helped out Saudi Arabian tourism after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you reckon? Someone said this to me today. What do you reckon the odds are that game was paid off by the Saudis?
No.
Which one? The Argentina game?
Yeah. Oh, with all the offsides. With all the offsides now.
Well, or that they paid the Argies to throw it.
No way. I mean, I don't think they did.
American players are never.
They scored like 9 goals. They scored like Argentina. Like they scored like 9 goals that were all offside by an inch. So that would be pretty spectacular if they could do that intentionally. That would be glorious. In fact, they definitely deserve to win this World Cup if they could do that intentionally.
Where there's a will, there's a way, isn't there? Where there's a will.
I think France are good favourites to win it. You know, all those deals going on between the French and the Qataris. The VAR will mysteriously cut off in a crucial moment in the semi-final. Call me a cynic.
Oh, I've never called you that before, Dave. So, if you're Southgate, what do you do? What do you change? Where do you change? What do you do for the Wales game? Because obviously, the Welsh are going to be so up for it, aren't they? They hate the English.
Like, if I'm Southgate, then it's 3 at the back and wing backs. That's what. If I'm Southgate, he's thinking that. He's not thinking I need to change my attacking 3 or need to do something different in midfield. He's thinking maybe Walker's fit. I can play a back 3, which is, if you believe that that's what he's always wanted to do, he'll go back to it as soon as he can. And like, I think I saw an early comment saying that the only way England don't qualify is if they lose by like 3 or 4-0.
4-0.
Right, like, because their goal difference is so much better than everyone else's that they should be okay no matter what. Yeah, it's just. But yeah, if I'm Southgate, I'm sticking on an extra defender and hoping Bale doesn't stick 6 in the top corner.
I think that's the thing you guys are forgetting is that this was a poor performance from England, but you actually got the job done more than USA did, which is a weird thing to say because I think the USA actually played well in both games against the likes of Wales and against the likes of you guys, but we don't have really the points to show for it in the way that you do. And that is also something, you know, to bring up that I think you guys are actually kind of clear. You're sort of, it'd be shocking if you blew it up from here. I don't really think you could. And so you sort of got the job done. Whether or not really being very pretty is another question, but you did get the job done. And the USA actually still have a huge game to come up where they have to get 3 points. And so we're probably quite jealous of where you guys are, considering I think we played quite well for ourselves in both games, but we don't have 4 points to show for it right now. We have to get 3 points.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound arrogant if you're an American, but I think
well, I'll probably meet you with another arrogant.
Nationality matters here, caller.
Hang on a minute. So if you're an American, you're going to find us arrogant, and for us Brits, we're not going to find it arrogant. And the floor is yours.
Pretty sure we have our own lined up as
how
well.
much I love America and American people. Like, you know, I'm absolutely...
Oh, here we go.
But I would say that the USA national team have played to their ceiling, and the English team have played nowhere near their ceiling. And that's the fundamental difference between, you're talking about we're a lot happier. Yeah, but we should be. We're ranked a lot higher in the world. We've got a team full of quality players, and you haven't. And you're playing, almost to your absolute max. And I suppose that's just where I see the cold reality of where the teams are at. Yes, they did dispatch Iran easily. So should you, in reality, because they're terrible. But
I'm going to say this publicly. I'm going to watch the America-Iran game. I don't want to watch England-Wales. I know what I'm going to see. And unless Wales go 2-0 up, what's the interest for me? Right? I don't really have any. So the US-Iran game is a much bigger game where, winner takes all, winner goes through regardless. Winner might even win the group.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting thing that, I don't like I understand why they have to be played at the same time, but if you give me an option, I think that's the more exciting game. England-Wales, I see that every week in the Premier League. But US-Iran and everything the history there, it should be a really good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, for Wales, it's a dead rubber now because they're finished. They're out.
It's a free hit for them, really.
Yeah,
they get to just upset the party. They get to spoil the party.
They'll just try and upset the English, and Gareth Bale will try and get one over on you one last time, Dave.
Well, if he makes it that far. I mean, what's it now? 3 games in a week? He hasn't done that since 2016 or something, isn't he?
Listening to Dave banging on about Gareth Bale being on the golf course, Gareth Bale this, Gareth Bale that, is worth the Patreon fee of £3 a month alone. So if you're not already a patron, get over to Patreon.
But the really
podcast.
There's a really important piece of equipment in the Welsh training camp which helps for preparation for a big tournament. The first tournament they've been in since '58. They have actually got a golf simulator in the training camp. So there you go. Says it all, doesn't it?
There's a lot of players that like golf. Harry Kane loves a round. Just ask Gary Neville. You don't bang on about that, do you?
Gary Neville. We could do a whole program on him. But we won't tonight.
Fighting the good fight over there, he is.
Yeah, he is. The Che Guevara of Salford. He really is.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. He's Gary Neville. Just off topic, by the way, Graham Souness and Roy Keane, they're both on working for ITV this tournament. What I didn't realise when I Googled how old is Graham Souness, it came up he's actually leaving Sky at the end of this year. I am gutted. I absolutely love
He's been on Talk Sport a lot.
Too. Yeah, he has actually, yeah.
Is he just leaving Sky or retiring because he's old enough?
It says he's retiring, but whether that's from Sky or...
I think he'll be on Talk Sport. It seems like they've found a good replacement with him and Simon Jordan. They seem to enjoy each other's company.
I think there's a great thing on Souness and Keane having a real go at each other. Which game was that one? They had a massive go at each other. It was very funny. The other important question that we need to ask our American cheese room brethren is that apparently this game was for the battle for who keeps James Corden. And it's a 0-0 draw. So, as far as
we've just sent him to purgatory then. He's just
I'd like you to keep him there. I mean, what is there another trade-off we can do?
I think unfortunately we have to
send him to Australia.
Bottom of the group takes him. Maybe whoever finishes bottom of the group. Wales shall receive him. Maybe or
that's
Iran.
A really good idea. Whoever finishes bottom gets Corden. So it could be possibly Iran or Wales. Yep. I'm happy with that.
We're also sort of think if we win it, we're going to call it. You call it from football, and if you win, we'll call it soccer going forward. And unfortunately, it's still undecided. So the Yanks will still be calling.
I think we'll have to win a tournament before that happens. We'll have to win something, and then we can start writing the rules. We do love writing the rules, though.
A flop plunder, you pelican.
I've never been called a pelican. What is it? It's a bird, isn't it? What's that? How insulting is that to be be pelican?
Yeah. Highly insulting.
Is it really?
Maybe it's autocorrect and it's something else beginning with P.
Penis? Maybe, I don't know.
Pigeon? Is it pigeon? Is it another bird insult?
Ecuador?
I wouldn't call him a flop pundit. He's controversial. That's what I would say. But you know, you need that's what makes good pundits. People that get people talking.
Yeah.
Just like you, Davo.
Yeah, but I'm not a good pundit. HG is. We know that. Just voted in. It's all good.
What's going to happen then? Let's talk.
What's
about
going to happen? That's in the World Cup or just generally?
No. Let's predict the Wales score and the Iran score, and you can tell me what's going to happen if you want. You're tearing it up and having another kebab night. You can come to that later if you like. But let's talk about the football first. Flat Cap Jack, give us your predictions.
We have to beat Iran. I'm worried because Iran, they love putting 13, 14, 18 men behind the ball. So this is a tough situation for us. I imagine it will be like a 5. It'd be like a 5-5 or something like that they'll play. It'll be pretty atrocious. Will we be able to break that down? I'm just going to say that we will. I don't have confidence we will, but just for the sake of it, might as well just put a bit of arrogance in here and say we'll get the job done this time and we get all 3 points. We need all 3 points. So probably there's a bit of sort of clarity in that this time that we actually know we need to win this game. And so maybe we'll win that. And then the likes of Wales, I could see Wales pulling off a draw. So I'm going to say they get a draw there.
Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, most Americans would have said if you give them a winner-take-all game in Game 3, they'd take it. But I'm actually, this makes me very nervous because Iran doesn't need they don't need a win. They just a point is all they need, and they're almost guaranteed to go through. And they don't need to take any chances. They just need to defend. And the U.S. has shown through 2 games they just don't. They're not gonna just win 4-0. So I'm actually a little bit pessimistic about the outcome. I could easily see us getting 3 draws and going home. And again, if that happens, Greg Berhalter gets fired probably, and we're off for 26, where I think we're in really good shape for 26. I expect big things for us in 26, actually, because this group will be 4 years older. You'll see every one of these players almost back, and some other players coming through. I mean, Brendan Harrison's younger brother is better than he is. And so I think that's what I'm looking towards is 26. I'm not really this. If they get out of the group, great, but they'll lose to the Netherlands and it'll be over. So,
Davo?
Oh, I mean, but just to point out, tonight's another big one is Socceroos versus Tunisia. Must win.
I mean, that is a huge fixture.
It's
just jumping off the page.
Are you not doing a watch-along reaction show?
We should do it.
3-hour pre-match build-up lined up for that one there, Davo. Don't you worry.
The Colonies versus Tunisia.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think I'm going out and watching that, so that'll be good. What's going to happen? England Wales is going to be so dull. I think we'll win 1-0, and it'll just be dull. And Maguire, set piece header, 1-0. That's it. Bale will announce his retirement after the game and concentrate on golf and building more golf-themed bars.
He'll be on the PGA Tour before you know it. He'll be on the PGA Tour before you know it.
He'll be the next Ian Woosnam. Isn't that a Welsh golfer? I don't know. And anyway, it is, isn't it? Right. My knowledge of Welsh golf is brilliant. Yeah. We'll win 1-0. It'll be so boring. But we'll win 1-0. We'll go through. US Iran, I reckon it'll be a draw as well, actually. I think it'll be a high score. I think it'll be a high scoring draw. I think it'll be a high scoring draw.
Okay. It's good to temper expectations with a shit performance against the States and a shit performance against the Welsh because you never know what's going to happen in the next round. HG.
Like Italia 90. We were shit in the groups.
Exactly. Well, I would say the team that wins their group easily nearly always gets knocked out early doors. HG?
What I think is going to be most interesting, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's say Wales beat the English 1-0, right, 2-1, whatever, and then America wins as well. So America ends up winning the group on 5 points. England qualify because they scored 6 against Iran, and that's the only other reason they are there on goal difference. And Wales can, keep face because they beat the English, although they're still out. And the English will suddenly find themselves on the easy side of the draw by being idiotic, and then England will go on a run. But it is one of those groups where you could definitely see that England would lose, sneak through on goal difference, and then either America or Iran will win the group. But I want it to be America. I mean, my family's half American, so I'm definitely, if the US and England go through, I'm happy, and that's the only way it can really happen, I think.
Yeah, USA baby.
Got Yanks on the inside. You gotta love it.
I personally think that The States will qualify. I think they'll knock over Iran. And if not, nuke them or something. I think
What?
Wales will comfortably lose to England. But I predicted we'd comfortably beat the USA, so you never know. I don't know. I can see the Welsh.
We do. Like, we if you never know, if you're telling us that England were going to beat America and it didn't happen, what you're saying now, I'll take the other option.
Whatever. I do think that.
Can we just go back to that arrogant comment you made? Can we just quickly go around the panel in terms of if we felt that comment you made before was actually arrogant? Because I didn't think it was that arrogant. HG?
No. It was actually quite. It was an opinion based in fact. I was a bit almost shocked.
And he brought in the ceiling. I haven't ever heard him talk about a ceiling before. So I thought it was fine. Jack, what did you think?
Narrative, isn't it?
I'm not going to put on sunglasses inside or start ranting and calling people names or anything. I'm not really that passionate or that offended when people make fun of the USA. It's not really any skin off my back. I feel like, in fact, I wish Americans could maybe take a joke a bit better sometimes. So I don't know. I sort of feel like they've impressed us. Like they've impressed me, maybe to sort of validate Collar in any way. I don't even know if this does, but I think they've played well, and they probably have played to what we all hoped they would play to, like a level that we could be proud of, a level that we could say that we were probably the better team in both games. I do feel that way against Wales. I thought we were the better team, and sort of against you guys. I kind of thought we were the better team by the looks of it. So I think we can be proud of that. And so is that reaching our ceiling? Maybe so. It's not the worst ceiling of any sort. So I'm actually,
I think jokes aside, I think the States' biggest problem is putting the ball in the Indian bag, and I don't think you've got any strikers that are capable of doing it. And
I agree.
Fundamentally, you ain't going to.
We actually have too many creative players. Gio Reyna, Brendan Aronson, all those guys get left on the bench because we have to play a striker. You're right.
I'm not talking about having a world-class forward. I'm talking like having a Callum Wilson or someone like that. Just anybody.
We played some hipster striker from the Turkish Super League today, which Collar, me, myself on Flat Cap Euro Talk is a big fan of that sort of thing, but it is not what we need, I think, going into these. So you're absolutely right with that. Absolutely.
And until ultimately you solve that problem. I mean, Harry Kane's generational talent. Not every team is going to have a Harry Kane, but you need some attacking threat. And really, apart from Pulisic, unless you were going to work a sort of 2-3-1-2 and McKennie had a semi-decent chance that he skied. Unless you're going to work that, you're never going to win games by more than 1-0. And in reality, at this level, it's probably not enough.
But no offense taken. No screaming or receipts from me. No Alexi Lalas red-faced rants from me.
It's factual. I love America. I hope you develop a really good soccer team.
This one's a warm-up. This tournament's a warm-up for us.
The United States have got the blessing of the caller to have a great soccer team. Take that to the streets of Brooklyn tonight.
Brooklyn. You talk about ceilings. Like if America leave the tournament knowing that they've played as well as they can, and England leave the tournament having not done that, then who's had the better tournament? Who's done the best they can do? So
not the most pathetic ceiling, it's
I mean the problem is our ceiling's very high, but the manager's pretty shit, and that's to me that's always been the case. We're totally limited by not having a world-class coach. We've got a stable coach who can set a team up not to lose and nick a goal.
We've had world-class coaches before who got knocked out in the quarterfinals every time. Like it's about doing. Well, you're saying like Sven-Goran Eriksson was, had won Serie A. Capello had won Serie A multiple times. Mm-hmm. So that we have had world-class coaches, but there is a disconnect there, obviously. And so, Southgate has connected with the players, and he's got them as a team, as a squad, really working together. But the 11 on the pitch is lacking, and I'm sure the players know that. I'm sure that there are players thinking, Foden's a really good player. Why am I playing ahead of him? Yeah. Like if I'm Sterling, why am I being asked to do something that I'm not very good at?
Why am I here? Why am I in Qatar?
No, but Sterling has quality. He does have some qualities. It's just
he's worth a squad.
If he's got his if he's got his back to goal, which he did have for most of the game today, then and he's being asked to do that, that's not on Sterling. It's like
Totally
any
agree.
player.
I'd rather see us drop an extra man in midfield and put Callum Wilson up with, even go 4-4-2 and go with Kane and Wilson up top, or mix it up like that. But tactically, we don't ever come out of Southgate's preferred shape. It seems. I mean, he's been forced, as we say, into playing 4 at the back. But as you get further up the pitch, it's exactly the same as it always is. Anyway,
so if we win the group, who do we get in the next round? What's it looking like at the moment?
The second team of Group A, which is probably going to be one of either Holland or Ecuador, based on what we've seen.
Right.
It may be Holland, considering Ecuador outplayed them today.
Yeah, I don't think Holland are that great, to be honest.
No, they're not. They're not great at all.
That great.
No.
Again, that Dutch side has a very easy group. Qatar, Senegal. They beat Senegal, which would have been a difficult, but they weren't convincing in that. No. They weren't convincing today. They've got Qatar next, so you'd expect them to win that and end up with 7 points. But if Ecuador beat Senegal, I mean, that's the game to watch, because both teams will have everything to play for. Senegal will know if they win, they go through. So there's a good chance that one of Ecuador or Senegal is going to be the second place team. So if we win the group, we get them, and if we come second, we get the Dutch. But if we got the Dutch, as much as I've lived there and I have a strong affinity for the Dutch team, it is not a good Dutch side. And Van Gaal made the team worse today with his substitutions. I was excited with the starting 11, and then he brought on Depay at half time, and I didn't think he needed to. And it changed everything. So if the Dutch can get it right, they're a decent side. But I don't trust them under Van Gaal at all to do that.
No.
Did Janssen start today?
No. The starting 11 that Van Gaal had today was pretty much their best. Like, I think if you took Klaassen out and put Memphis in, it's close to their best. But they play with wing backs.
Yeah.
Daley Blind is not a wing back. Can't get forward. I watched the World Cup on Dutch TV, right? So I'm sitting there watching Van Hooijdonk and Van Basten talk about the Dutch game tonight, and they were scathing because they know the Dutch haven't played well for 2 games, and they're quite fortunate to be where they are because they've got a quite easy group, and they do think that unless he figures it out, they will go out at the first knockout stage.
Yeah, and they got away with it in Senegal. Against Senegal, they very much got away with it. It was took one moment of brilliance. It was kind of like, just Frankie de Jong, world-class ball, world-class finish. But it wasn't like, deserved or anything either. So they actually are lucky to even be on 4 points. You're right, HG.
Yeah. When was the last time the Dutch had a decent team? I mean, they got to the final. What year was
2010.
that? Yeah.
2010.
It's been a while since they've been in the World Cup, so or even any major tournament, for the most part.
They weren't in the last World Cup,
when you're starting Vincent Janssen up front, and Bergwijn's one of your most attacking threats, you've got problems, to be honest.
I'd say so.
Bergwijn and Depay, Bergwijn and Depay have worked well together. I mean, they got them qualified, the 2 of them up top. And Van Gaal came in, and he changed the system, and the players didn't really like the idea of going 3 at the back, which he likes to do. But it's that he has a fascination with Frankie de Jong's going to start, right? That's guaranteed. But who do you play next to him? Do you play De Roon, who's more of a defensive, real kind of dog in midfield? Do you play Koopmeiners, who started today, who I think is a good player, plays at Atlanta? But you've got Klaassen, who's not a good footballer, but somehow scores. He gets important goals, and he always has done. So it's like Gakpo's got to play. So to me, I don't want to talk about Holland too long, but you've got Memphis and Bergwijn and Gakpo as your front 3. You've got probably De Jong and Koopmeiners or De Roon next to him. And maybe they go with Malacia, the United left back, and play him on instead of Daley Blind, because neither Blind nor Dumfries got into the opponent's penalty box today at all. And as wing backs in a system that they're supposed to provide the width, that's not good enough. So the Dutch have a good team somewhere in there, but I don't trust Van Gaal to find it. And so whoever gets them, there are more difficult games to have in the last 16. And again, I feel like in the last World Cup, England were in one of the final groups. So we knew when we played Belgium, there was this idea that, hey, one side of the draw is super easy. We can lose and find ourselves on the good side, and that's good. That's what we want. Now that we're one of the first groups, you don't have that luxury. But you can look and maybe see, well, who's going to win Group A, who's going to win Group C, and figure out maybe what the path might be. But yeah, it's. I don't think England will qualify because of the goal difference. Whoever they get in the round of 16, they shouldn't be too nervous about.
No.
And then it's coming home, yeah, because we're going to win it.
That's it. It's coming home.
It's coming home.
Well,
It's not-
talking of going home, I think we're going to wrap there. We've done an hour and 10 minutes, which is.
Are we not doing half an hour on Socceroos Tunisia?
If you really want to, I'm more.
Pre-match build-up tomorrow,
happy to
Dave. Like we said, it's 2 hours before. We're doing a 2-hour pre-match build-up for that one.
You can go there, and I'll.
No.
chip off.
No, you're right. But I just this is Cameron. He's in Melbourne. He's am I going to watch the
Pick up
game?
Cameron.
I might be going to the kebab shop up the road. I think it's open for breakfast this morning. I think it's open tonight. So there's good screens in there. There's a tinkle. You can have a little tinkle on piano. And Melbourne, where you're watching it, is another world global renowned tourist spot. You're watching it around there. Just around the latte machine. Good luck with the vote today, Cameron, because you got in the sausage with the cheese on, sausage sandwich. That's what they do in Melbourne.
It's called a snag, isn't it?
It's a sausage sanger, and he likes putting cheese on it.
I heard
What?
this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you got beef sausage, two pieces of white bread. He'll put ketchup on it or brown sauce.
Is it
and
always
he'll have cheese on it, or a
beef
roll,
sausage?
or one slice of bread and roll it in, and he'll put cheese on it. I don't put cheese on a sausage.
Do you
And
get
I'm
a
not being
choice of
Sid
what-
James?
Do you get a choice of sausage? Can you have pork or beef? Is that?
It's more often than not. It's more often not beef or chicken.
Chicken?
Yeah, I don't like
that's
chicken
just
sausages.
rank.
No, I don't. Even I don't like chicken sausages. Nice
No.
lamb sausage though. Do you know what?
Lamb?
I'm actually going to go up the road to the butcher and get a sausage. There we go. Have I said the word sausage enough?
And on that bombshell, thanks, Jack, for joining once again.
Thanks for letting me be the honorary Yank and representative of Ted Lasso, as always. Appreciate you.
Woo!
And
Go
that- and-
USA!
and no mention of Brian Hill. Brilliant.
Oh, yeah, I was disciplined. Very disciplined.
DaveO, as ever, thanks for getting off your deathbed. You don't seem too hungover, so that's good.
No, I'm going to get a sausage sandwich now. Be good. Thanks for having me on. Loving the World Cup. It's great.
Go grab your freedom snag. And
Yeah.
HG, once again, it's always a pleasure to be on with you. Thanks for your insight tonight.
No problem.
And until next time, come on, you England.
It's coming home.
No,
It's
it's
coming
not
home.
coming home.
It's
Coming
coming home.
home!
It's coming home.